The galaxy had seen many species rise and fall. Some built empires that lasted thousands of years. Others vanished before anyone even remembered their names. But never in all that time had any race advanced as quickly as the humans from Earth. They were the newcomers, bold, curious, and restless. In less than 3 centuries, they had gone from exploring their own moon to crossing the stars. Now, for the first time, humanity was invited to the imperial capital of Vrax, the shining heart of the largest empire in the known galaxy. It was an ancient power, proud and full of traditions. The Vraxians ruled over hundreds of planets and dozens of species, believing themselves the natural leaders of all intelligent life. To them, humans were little more than children, ambitious, noisy, and far too confident. That was why the invitation surprised everyone. The Emperor of Vrax had agreed to meet a representative from Earth, not for war but for diplomacy. The Galactic Union wanted peace, and so did humanity. But no one expected who Earth would send. Instead of a general or scientist, they sent Princess Alara Vance. She was young, just 24 Earth years, with calm gray eyes and a presence that demanded attention without even trying. Her role was not to fight or threaten. She was there to represent humanity, to speak for a race that refused to kneel before anyone. As her ship, the HMS Dawnstar, approached the golden clouds of Vrax, Alara stood on the command deck watching the capital world appear below. Massive floating cities shimmered like jewels and great towers pierced the sky, glowing under the twin suns. Around them, fleets of alien ships moved in perfect formation. The sight would have made any diplomat nervous, but not her. Impressive, she said softly, her tone calm but sharp. They've built beauty over fear. Captain Ree, the Dawnstar's commander, glanced at her with a small smile. You don't sound afraid, Your Highness. Alara turned her gaze toward the massive orbital station they were approaching. Fear isn't useful, she replied. Observation is. The communications console blinked as the Vraxian control tower hailed them. A deep, cold voice filled the air. Human vessel Dawnstar, you are entering Imperial airspace. Lower your shields and prepare for inspection. Any resistance will be treated as an act of war. Captain Ree looked uneasy, but Alara raised her hand slightly. Comply, she said. We didn't come to fight. Let them see we have nothing to hide. The shields dropped and scanners swept through their ship like invisible waves. After a tense minute, the voice returned. Inspection complete. You may proceed to the Imperial Palace landing bay. The Emperor awaits. The words hung heavy in the air. The Emperor himself, ruler of 1,000 worlds, was waiting for her. The landing bay was enormous, large enough to fit entire cities. Hundreds of alien delegates lined the marble platform, scaled, furred, and feathered beings from every corner of the Empire. At the far end, a golden throne floated above the ground, where the Vraxian Emperor Lord Kael Roth sat in silent command. His armor gleamed like molten metal, and his 4 burning eyes followed the human ship as it descended. When the ramp lowered, Princess Alara stepped out, flanked by 2 human guards in sleek silver armor. She wore a simple navy blue uniform with the crest of Earth stitched over her heart. No crown, no heavy jewels, just quiet confidence, the crowd murmured in surprise. Many had expected a nervous, overdressed royal, someone eager to impress. Instead, Alara walked with the calm grace of someone who belonged there. The Emperor's deep voice filled the hall. So this is the human princess. I expected a warrior, not a child. A ripple of laughter moved through the alien ranks, sharp and mocking. But Alara did not flinch. Her lips curved into a soft smile. And I expected an emperor, she said gently, not a daycare with crowns. The laughter stopped instantly. Every sound in the hall vanished as if sucked into a vacuum. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. The alien delegates stared in disbelief. No one had ever spoken to the Emperor of Vrax like that. For a long, heavy moment, silence ruled the room. Then, to everyone's shock, the Emperor chuckled. A low, rumbling sound. You have courage, human, he said. Perhaps that is why your kind spread so fast. Alara bowed her head slightly. Courage is a habit, not a choice, Your Majesty. We had to learn it early. The formal greeting continued. Alara was escorted through the palace halls. Long corridors filled with statues of Vraxian conquerors and ancient victories. Everything around her screamed of power and age. Yet she noticed something else beneath the grandeur. A kind of stillness, like the Empire had stopped moving forward long ago. Her guide, an alien diplomat named Sira, noticed her quiet observation. "You seem unimpressed, Princess," Sira said politely. Alara smiled. "Oh, I'm impressed," she said. "It's just strange to see a civilization so advanced yet so afraid of change." Sira frowned. "Afraid? The Empire fears nothing. Then why does it need so many reminders of its own greatness?" she asked softly, glancing at the endless rows of statues. Sira had no answer. Hours later, Alara stood in the Grand Council chamber, a vast circular hall filled with alien leaders from across the Empire. Every species had sent its best, and every eye was on the human girl standing in the center of the shining floor. The Emperor rose from his throne. "Princess Alara Vance of Earth," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You stand before the oldest and most powerful civilization in the galaxy. You have been granted the honor of addressing us. Speak and be heard." Whispers rippled through the room. Some delegates smiled mockingly. Others leaned forward with curiosity. Alara stepped forward, her hands clasped calmly in front of her. "Your Majesty," she began, "and honored leaders of the Empire, I bring greetings from Earth. We come not as conquerors, not as beggars, but as equals." A wave of murmurs rolled through the chamber. Equals. That single word was like a spark in a dry forest. One alien delegate, tall and covered in silver feathers, laughed aloud. "Equals? Your kind has barely learned to travel the stars. The humans are infants." Another hissed, "You build ships from recycled alloys and call yourselves explorers. You are children playing with fire." Alara said nothing. She stood still, her expression calm, even as the laughter and mockery grew louder. Finally, the Emperor raised a hand, silencing them. "Tell me, Princess," he said slowly. "Do you understand why they laugh?" She met his gaze without fear. "Yes," she said. "Because they've forgotten what it's like to be young." The Emperor tilted his head. "Explain." Alara took a slow breath. "You've all been powerful for so long that you've stopped growing. You measure greatness by how long you've ruled, not how much you've learned. Humanity may be young, yes, but we are still learning, still improving, still dreaming. That's what makes us dangerous." The chamber fell silent. Her voice, though soft, carried to every corner. Then, to everyone's shock, she laughed. Not mockingly, not cruelly, but with pure amusement. "Do you know what we say on Earth?" she continued, smiling. "When someone older tells us we can't do something?" The Emperor raised a brow. "What do you say?" She grinned. "Watch us." There was a pause, and then a single human guard behind her chuckled. Another joined him, and soon the sound of quiet laughter spread among the small human delegation standing near the chamber's edge. It wasn't laughter of disrespect. It was confidence, courage, and a hint of rebellion. The Emperor stared down at her, his expression unreadable. Finally he said, "You have spirit, Princess Alara, perhaps too much of it." Alara bowed her head slightly. "If spirit is a fault, then humanity is guilty," she replied softly. The Emperor's lips curved in a faint, dangerous smile. "Then let us see how far that spirit can go." He turned to his court. "Tomorrow we begin the trials of the Empire. Let us test these humans and end their laughter." Alara met his gaze steadily. "We'll be ready." As she left the chamber, her steps were steady and sure. Behind her, the sound of human laughter still echoed faintly in the vast hall, a sound no one in the Empire would forget. For centuries, the Vraxians had ruled through fear and tradition. But that day, a new sound entered their history, the fearless laughter of humankind. The next morning, the Grand Council chamber was filled again, brighter and more alive than the day before. Sunlight reflected off the golden walls, making the room shine as if it were alive. Hundreds of alien delegates gathered, their eyes fixed on the small human princess standing in the middle of the room. Alara had spent the night preparing. She had reviewed every piece of information humanity had about the Empire, their history, their customs, their technology. She had also thought about the Empire's attitude toward humans. They believed humans were weak, inexperienced, and foolish, and yet she knew that humans had a power the Empire could not measure: adaptability, courage, and unpredictability. When the Emperor entered, all voices quieted. Lord Kael'Roth moved with his usual slow, commanding grace. His four eyes scanned the chamber, eventually resting on Princess Alara. "Today," he said in a low voice, We will see if humans are truly worthy of their claim in the galaxy. Let them speak for themselves, and let us test them. Alara bowed slightly. We are ready, Your Majesty. The first delegate to speak was a tall, thin creature with skin like liquid silver. Its voice rang sharp and cold. Princess Alara, you come from a species that barely understands space travel. You claim to be equals to us. Tell us, and what can humans teach the Empire? Some of the other delegates snickered, showing their teeth, feathers, or fangs. Their laughter was not meant to be friendly. It was meant to belittle humanity, to remind the princess that her people were newcomers. Alara smiled softly, a calm, confident smile that immediately silenced the whispers around her. I do not claim to teach the Empire, she said, but we can share what we have learned. The universe is vast and no species can know it all. Sometimes even the oldest empires can learn from the youngest. Another delegate laughed loudly, a wide, brassy laugh that echoed through the chamber. It had multiple notes like a strange instrument. Learn from children? It said, tilting its head. Your people are children. You have no fleets, no weapons, no empire. You are tiny ants crawling among giants. Alara's gray eyes met the creature's golden eyes without fear. Perhaps, she said softly, but even ants can change the world. They can work together, build, adapt, survive, and sometimes they can even challenge the giants. A silence fell across the chamber. The laughter stopped. Many delegates exchanged uneasy looks. No one had expected the humans to speak with such quiet confidence. The Emperor's deep voice cut through the tension. Enough, he said. Do not be fooled by words. Actions matter more than talk. Humans, show us what you can do. Alara nodded. Very well. She turned to her small human delegation, a group of engineers, diplomats, and scientists. Show them why we are here, she said. The first demonstration was of technology. The humans rolled in a small silver machine, no larger than a car. The aliens laughed again. Is that your fleet? One hissed. Alara smiled. Not a fleet, she said. A scout drone, watch. With a touch of a button, the drone rose into the air. It hovered, then suddenly split into 20 smaller drones, each moving in perfect coordination. They zipped through the chamber, avoiding obstacles, scanning objects, and transmitting data to Alara's tablet in real time. The delegates gasped. The drones' speed, precision, and intelligence were beyond what most of the Empire had expected. The Emperor leaned forward, studying the small machines carefully. You see, Alara said, we do not rely on size or power alone. We use intelligence, speed, and teamwork. Another delegate sneered. Intelligence? This is primitive. Any child of the Empire could do the same. Alara laughed, the soft, confident laugh that had already become famous among the humans and the aliens alike. Perhaps, she said, but your children have never had to survive with so little. We learn fast because we must. And that is what makes humans dangerous. Next came diplomacy. The humans had prepared simulations of disputes among planets in the Empire. Alien delegates watched as human diplomats, guided by Alara, resolved conflicts in minutes, conflicts that had taken Vraxian leaders weeks, sometimes months to even understand. The aliens murmured in disbelief. How could these small humans solve such complicated problems so quickly? It is impossible, one of them whispered. No one acts so efficiently. Alara watched them carefully. Efficiency is not the same as speed, she said calmly. It is understanding, listening, and thinking creatively. Humans have been doing this for centuries, not for empires, but for survival. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Clever, he said, but cleverness alone does not win wars. Alara did not respond immediately. Instead, she gestured to her team, and a medical demonstration began. They showed a virus affecting a Vraxian species, one that the Empire's finest scientists could not cure. Within minutes, the humans demonstrated a treatment that neutralized the virus without harming the patient. Gasps filled the chamber. This is impossible, cried an alien. No human could do this in the field of medicine. Alara smiled. Perhaps you are not used to humans, she said. We adapt, we invent. We do not wait for the world to be ready for us. We make the world ready for ourselves. After hours of demonstration, the delegates were visibly shaken. Many were angry, some were afraid, and others were curious. They could not deny the skill, intelligence, and speed of the humans. Yet some could not let go of their pride. One tall, armored alien with scales glinting in green and gold stepped forward. This is not a victory. This is a fluke. Humans are lucky. Their machines, their medicine, their solutions, all borrowed ideas from older civilizations. You are children playing with tools you do not understand. Alara's lips curved into a smile, calm and unshaken. If borrowing ideas is learning, then humanity is one of the fastest learners in the galaxy, she said. And if you think that is small, then you have not seen what humans can do when we create something entirely our own. Her words carried a quiet strength that surprised even the Emperor. The alien scoffed and returned to its seat, muttering to itself. Other delegates whispered to each other, eyes wide. The humans were not only surviving the mockery, they were turning it into respect. As the day drew to a close, Alara took a moment to step aside. She looked out at the vast city of the Empire, its golden towers glinting in the sun. She thought about Earth, a blue planet filled with oceans, forests, and people who had never given up, even when the universe seemed too big and too dangerous. They expect us to fail, she whispered to herself. But failure is not in our nature. Captain Ree approached quietly. Princess, he said, you handled them well. I didn't think the Empire would listen yet. Alara shook her head slightly. It is not about listening, she said. It is about showing them what humans are capable of. Words may not change the Empire, but actions and a little laughter might. The mention of laughter made Captain Ree chuckle quietly. Alara smiled. Yes, she said softly. Laughter is a power they do not understand, and that is why we have it. That evening, as Alara retired to her quarters in the palace, she reflected on the day. The Empire had mocked humanity, laughed at their youth and inexperience, and yet for the first time, she had seen the faintest signs of uncertainty in the Emperor. The humans had survived the first day in the heart of the Empire, and they had done so with dignity, intelligence, and courage. They had shown the galaxy that while humans were young, they were far from weak. The day after the council, the Empire of Vrax was buzzing with rumors. A human princess had come and laughed in their faces, yet survived. Worse, she had impressed some of the delegates. Across the vast capital, whispers of the laughing princess spread like wildfire. Lord Kael'Roth, the Emperor, sat in his golden chamber, staring at the galaxy outside. He had watched Princess Alara with a mix of irritation and fascination. No human had ever dared to speak with such confidence to challenge centuries of Vraxian pride. He could not decide if she was naive or brilliant. Finally, he summoned her again. The Grand Council chamber was empty except for the humans and the Emperor's closest advisors. Princess Alara, he said slowly, you have shown courage, intelligence, and boldness, yet words and small displays mean little. Let us see how far your people can go. Alara stood tall, her expression calm. I understand, Your Majesty. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Tomorrow the Empire will begin the challenge of worlds. It is a series of tests, technological, strategic, and diplomatic. The humans will face our best. Should they succeed, they will earn respect. Should they fail, well, we will see if they survive with dignity. Alara's lips curved into a small smile. We do not fear challenges. The humans spent the night preparing. Engineers worked on their machines. Strategists reviewed every possible scenario. And Alara herself studied the maps of the Imperial sectors. She did not intend to merely survive the challenge. She intended to show the Empire that humans were more than their age, more than their size, more than their history. The first test would be technology. A Vraxian fleet, larger than any humans had ever seen, stood ready in orbit around a barren planet. Their mission: navigate through a complex asteroid field while avoiding attacks from simulated enemy ships. Alara watched as the human pilots took their positions. Remember, she said quietly, the Empire measures size and firepower, but humans measure speed and intelligence. Use your minds. Don't rush. Don't panic. The fleet lifted off. The asteroid field was dense, each rock moving unpredictably, some larger than entire cities. Alien delegates sneered. They will fail within minutes, one whispered, but the humans were ready. They had small, agile ships, each equipped with AI-assisted navigation systems. Within minutes, they weaved through the asteroids, avoiding attacks and taking paths the Empire had never predicted. The Emperor watched from his observation deck. They are clever, he admitted softly, almost to himself. But cleverness alone does not win wars. Alara smiled faintly. Cleverness is just the beginning, she said. By the end of the test, the humans had completed the course faster than the Vraxian fleets expected, with fewer losses. Some delegates were shocked, others angry. No one had expected these children of Earth to match them, let alone surpass them. The second challenge was strategy. In a large simulation, human commanders were placed in a situation where they had fewer resources than the Empire. They had fewer ships, smaller weapons, and no prior knowledge of the terrain. The Vraxian leaders watched closely, expecting to see humans panic and fail. But Alara had prepared her team carefully. Remember, she said, the Empire depends on numbers and tradition. We depend on creativity and adaptability. Use every advantage, even the small ones. The humans began to plan. They placed decoys in hidden locations, anticipated enemy movements, and used misdirection to confuse the simulations. They chose risks carefully, calculated each step, and exploited weaknesses in the Empire's traditional strategies. By the time the simulation ended, the humans had achieved victory without losing a single ship. The delegates murmured in disbelief. How could a species so young, so small, accomplish what the Empire had trained for centuries? One elder delegate hissed angrily, "They cheat!" "This is impossible." Alara's expression remained calm. "There is no cheating," she said. "Only thinking differently." The third test was diplomacy. A planet on the edge of the Empire had rebelled, refusing to pay tribute. The humans were tasked with resolving the conflict without using military force. The Vraxian leaders believed humans would fail. "They cannot handle politics on this scale," one commented. "They will collapse under pressure." Alara assigned teams to gather information about the planet, its needs, fears, and history. Using that knowledge, the humans met with the planet's leaders and proposed solutions that addressed everyone's concerns. They promised fairness, trade benefits, and protection without threatening violence. The alien leaders were astounded. Within hours, the rebellion ended peacefully. The humans had gained allies without firing a shot. The delegates whispered among themselves. Humans were not just clever, they were wise beyond their years. Alara addressed the Emperor. "This is how humans approach the galaxy. We do not conquer by fear. We gain respect by understanding and action." The Emperor remained silent, but his expression betrayed curiosity and perhaps a little admiration. The final test was a combination of all three: technology, strategy, and diplomacy. The humans were sent to a planet under threat from an environmental disaster, massive storms, earthquakes, and resource shortages, while alien leaders observed. Alara's team divided their forces. Engineers built machines to stabilize the planet's environment. Strategists organized logistics to ensure supplies reached those in need. Diplomats worked with the local leaders to maintain order and prevent panic. The task seemed impossible. The Empire expected humans to fail quickly, and yet the humans adapted. They used drones to monitor storms, clever routing to deliver supplies faster than expected, and simple but effective communication to unite the planet's population. By the end of the challenge, the humans had succeeded. The planet was stable, its population safe, and the alien observers stunned. For the first time, the delegates whispered not mockery, but respect. The Emperor finally spoke, rising from his throne. "Humans," he said slowly, "you have passed every test we set before you. You have shown intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Perhaps you are more than we believed." Alara stepped forward, her gray eyes steady and calm. "We are not asking for your approval, Your Majesty. We only ask to be recognized as a part of this galaxy, not as children, but as equals." The room was silent. Then faintly at first, Alara began to laugh. Soft, calm, full of confidence. It was not mockery. It was joy. A laugh that told everyone present. Humanity had survived. Humanity had succeeded. And humanity would never be underestimated again. The Emperor studied her carefully. Then unexpectedly he chuckled too. It was a deep, low sound that reverberated through the hall. "You laugh at power itself," he said. "Not at me, not at the Empire. At the arrogance of assuming that might equals right." Alara smiled. "Exactly. Power is not fear. Power is action, courage, and hope," some delegates murmured. Others stared silently. No one had heard such words in the Empire for centuries. The human princess had not only survived the challenge, she had shaken the confidence of the entire Empire. That evening, as the humans prepared to leave the council chamber, Alara reflected quietly. The challenge had been more than a test. It had been a lesson to the Empire and to humanity itself. Humans had proven they could face the oldest, most powerful civilization in the galaxy, not with brute force but with intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Captain Ree approached. "Princess, the Empire has never seen humans like this before. You've shown them something new." Alara nodded. "Yes, and they will never forget it. We are young, but we are fearless. They underestimate us because they expect us to follow their rules. But we have our own. And that is what makes us dangerous and unstoppable." She looked out at the glowing city of the imperial capital. Golden towers stretched toward the stars, fleets moved like clockwork, and the galaxy seemed vast and infinite. Yet Alara did not feel small. She felt human, strong, and ready. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "the Empire will learn even more. It's not just about our technology, not just about our courage, but about the human spirit and the human laugh." Somewhere in the palace corridors, the faintest echo of her laughter remained, a reminder to the Empire that even the smallest species could challenge the greatest. The challenge of worlds was over. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won respect. And for the first time, the Vraxians wondered if their empire had grown too old to see the future. The victory of humanity in the challenge of worlds sent ripples across the imperial capital. Word of the human princess and her delegation spread faster than the speed of light. In every council hall, every palace corridor, and every fleet station, beings whispered about the laughing princess and her human team that had dared to outthink, outmaneuver, and outshine the Empire. Lord Kael'Roth, the Emperor, paced his private chamber high above the capital. His four eyes were focused on the holographic display of the galaxy below, but his mind was elsewhere. For centuries, the Empire had relied on strength, fear, and long-standing tradition. Now in 1 week, a human child, as some still dared to call her, had challenged that confidence and survived. "It is unsettling," he muttered, almost to himself. "They are young, inexperienced, yet they are stronger than any we expected." A Vraxian minister, tall and armored in green scales, bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, they have not merely survived. They have shamed our pride in public view. Our fleets, our strategies, all outperformed by humans. Even your advisors admit it." The Emperor's expression darkened. "Do not call it shame," he said. "Call it a reminder that no empire can measure the value of life, intelligence, and spirit. But," he added, voice growing colder, "we will see how far that laughter can reach. Let us invite Princess Alara for the final ceremony tomorrow. It is time for judgment." Meanwhile, Princess Alara returned to her quarters, quiet and thoughtful. The challenge had been more than just a test. It had been a statement. Humans had proven that they were unpredictable, resourceful, and brave. They had achieved what no other species had dared to attempt, yet Alara knew the Emperor's judgment would not come easily. He would not bend to words or small victories. The final test was not one of technology, strategy, or diplomacy. It was a test of the human spirit itself. And she was ready. Her eyes wandered to the small Earth flag on her desk, a symbol of a blue planet in the distance. "We are small," she whispered, "but we are loud. We are few, but we are fearless, and they will remember our laughter." Her team gathered quietly. Engineers and diplomats, scientists and strategists, all looked to Alara for guidance. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we do not fight. We do not seek favor. We simply exist as humans, proud, clever, and unafraid. That will be our victory." The team nodded. They trusted her completely. Humans did not need to be the largest or the strongest. They needed only courage, intelligence, and a little bit of audacity. The following morning, the Grand Council chamber was more crowded than ever. Delegates from every planet of the Empire were present, their expressions ranging from curiosity to open skepticism. Many whispered, eyes narrowing at the small human princess standing at the center. Alara walked forward calmly, her gray eyes scanning the room. "Your Majesty," she said, I am here not to ask for favor, nor to beg for approval. I am here to show what humans can do, and to remind the galaxy that courage is not measured by age, size, or tradition. The Emperor's 4 eyes regarded her carefully. Your words have been bold, he said. But words are fleeting. Actions endure. Show me, Princess, why humans deserve a place in this galaxy. Alara smiled faintly. Actions already speak, Your Majesty. And laughter? She paused, letting the word linger. Laughter speaks even louder. The delegates looked confused. Some whispered to each other. The Emperor's lips curved slightly, almost imperceptibly. Then she did it. Alara laughed. Not a small giggle, not a polite sound, but a full, open, fearless laugh. It echoed through the chamber like a song. A sound so unexpected, so alive, that it froze every being in place. The laughter was not mockery. It was joy, confidence, and a subtle challenge all at once. It said, "We are humans. We exist. We will not be ignored." The reaction was immediate. Some delegates recoiled, offended that a human dared laugh in front of the Emperor. Others, secretly curious, leaned forward. Even the Emperor himself stared, a faint trace of admiration flickering across his stern face. "Do you find amusement in disrespect, human?" he asked, his deep voice echoing. Alara shook her head. "Not disrespect, Your Majesty," she said softly. "I laugh at the arrogance that assumes power alone defines greatness. We humans may be young, small, and inexperienced, but we adapt. We survive. We learn. And yes, we laugh while doing it." A few delegates muttered among themselves. Whispers grew louder. Some of the older, more conservative species were outraged. Others, especially younger beings who had grown tired of rigid empire rules, looked on with awe. For the first time in centuries, the Emperor was uncertain. The galaxy had taught him fear, strategy, and control. But this human girl, she had brought something new: unpredictability. To test their resolve further, the Emperor instructed a live demonstration. On the chamber's central display, a holographic image of a planet appeared. It was unstable, plagued by storms and conflicts between species under its control. "You have 1 hour," the Emperor said, "to stabilize this world. Failure will remind you why you are insignificant." Alara's team moved instantly. Engineers designed drone systems to monitor storms. Scientists calculated how to redistribute resources efficiently. Diplomats negotiated peace between factions of the planet. All the while, Alara coordinated their efforts with quiet authority, never raising her voice, never showing panic. Minutes later, the simulation showed success. The planet's storms were minimized, the conflicts resolved, and the resources balanced. The delegates gasped. Some muttered incredulously. How could such a small species accomplish this? Alara stepped forward. "We did not do this to prove ourselves," she said softly. "We did this because we can, because humans adapt, because humans do not surrender to fear or tradition." The Emperor leaned forward slightly. "Clever and bold," he murmured. Finally, Alara addressed the entire council. "You see," she said, "humans do not measure power by fear or dominance. We measure it by courage, by intelligence, and by hope. And when others fail to see that, we laugh, because the universe is vast and even the greatest empires cannot stop what is alive, clever, and fearless." For emphasis, she laughed again. This time it was stronger, louder, echoing off the golden walls. It reverberated through the chamber like a wave of energy. Some delegates were furious, some were terrified. Others quietly began to smile. The sound of human laughter, simple, pure, fearless, was unlike anything they had experienced. Even the Emperor found himself unconsciously smiling. He had ruled for centuries. He had faced countless challenges. And yet, this human girl, one child from a distant planet, had shaken him with nothing but courage and laughter. After the ceremony, the humans were escorted to their quarters. Alara walked silently through the palace corridors, thinking about what had just occurred. The laughter had not been a joke or an act. It had been a statement of power, a reminder that fear and tradition alone could not control the future. Captain Ree walked beside her. "Princess," he said, "the Empire. They have never seen humans like this before. Even the Emperor. He cannot forget today." Alara nodded. "That is the point," she said. "We did not come to impress. We came to show that humans will not bow to arrogance, tradition, or fear. We will survive, we will grow. And yes, we will laugh while doing it." She paused, looking at the glittering lights of the capital below. "They will tell stories of this day for centuries, not because humans are perfect and far from it, but because humans are alive, unpredictable, and bold. And that is more powerful than any fleet, any weapon, any empire." By nightfall, the palace was quiet. Yet the sound of laughter lingered, not loud, not chaotic, but a faint echo that reminded every being in the imperial capital that humans had arrived. They were clever, they were brave, and they would not be ignored. The Vraxian emperor sat alone in his chamber, staring at the stars. For the first time, he wondered if his centuries-old empire had grown too rigid to see the future. And somewhere, deep inside, he felt the stirrings of respect. For a human girl who laughed in his face and reminded him that power was more than fear. The laughter that shook the empire had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The day after the laughter echoed through the Grand Council chamber, the atmosphere in the imperial capital was different. Whispers traveled through corridors and palace halls, across floating bridges and golden towers. The humans had not only survived the challenge of worlds, they had earned attention and respect. Some delegates were curious, some nervous, and others quietly admiring the courage of the small species from Earth, Lord Kael Roth. The Emperor sat in his private chamber, his golden armor gleaming under the twin suns. He had spent the night reflecting on the human princess. Princess Alara Vance had done something no being in the Empire had ever done. She had challenged centuries of tradition and power with courage, intelligence, and laughter. Perhaps, he murmured to himself, the galaxy is not ruled by age, but by those who dare to move forward. He summoned Alara for a private audience, curious to see the girl who had shaken his empire so completely. When Alara entered the chamber, she walked calmly, her gray eyes meeting the Emperor's 4 eyes without fear. The guard stepped back, sensing the quiet authority she carried. The room was silent except for the hum of the palace's energy fields. "Princess Alara," the Emperor began, his voice steady. "You have done what I thought impossible. You have shown that humans are clever, courageous, and unpredictable. You laugh at power, and yet you act with precision and intelligence. That combination is dangerous," Alara smiled faintly. "Dangerous or not, Your Majesty, humans cannot be ignored. We adapt, we survive, and we grow. That is our nature. We do not fight because we want to dominate. We fight because we must exist and make a place for ourselves in the galaxy." The Emperor leaned forward slightly. "You have reminded me that empires can grow complacent. You have reminded me that power is not enough. Strength must be guided by wisdom and courage. You have done this without raising a weapon." Alara's lips curved into a small, confident smile. "We humans do not need weapons to be dangerous. Our spirit is stronger than any fleet. Our laughter is louder than any threat. And our will, stronger than fear itself." The Emperor studied her for a long moment as if weighing every word. Then slowly he nodded. "Perhaps it is time for the Empire to change. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to see that the youngest can teach the oldest something new." Meanwhile, across the imperial capital, the delegates began to approach the humans. Some were hesitant, unsure if they could trust this species that laughed in the face of centuries of tradition. Others were inspired, their own hearts stirred by the courage of the small, fearless humans. One of the younger delegates, a being with silver feathers and bright, curious eyes, approached Alara. "Princess," they said softly, "your people have shown us that life does not belong to empires. You have shown us hope and courage and laughter. How can we not be inspired?" Alara looked at the delegate with a gentle smile. "You do not need to follow us," she said. "You only need to choose to see the universe as it is, not as it has always been." The galaxy is vast and no empire can control its future. It belongs to those who dare to live, to learn, and yes, to laugh. The delegate bowed deeply. Then let us learn, Princess. Let us be part of this new way. The Emperor, observing this quietly, finally spoke again. Princess Alara, I invite you to help form a new alliance. One that does not rely on fear, coercion, or rigid tradition. One that will bring humans and others together in mutual respect and cooperation. Will you lead this effort? Alara's eyes lit up with determination. Yes, Your Majesty. Not to dominate, but to unite. Not to rule, but to guide with wisdom and courage. Humanity will not force the galaxy to follow, but we will show the way with example, and if needed, with laughter. The Emperor allowed himself a faint smile. Very well. Then the galaxy will see a new era, starting with humans. The news spread quickly. Across the Empire, planets that had long lived under fear and rigid control now saw a possibility for change. Humans, once considered insignificant, were now seen as equal partners in shaping the galaxy's future. Stories of Princess Alara's courage, intelligence, and laughter inspired young leaders and curious species alike. Alara and her team traveled from planet to planet, meeting with leaders, resolving disputes, and offering assistance to worlds that had long felt abandoned. Everywhere they went, humans were welcomed not with fear but with admiration. They had proven that strength did not always come from power or numbers. It came from courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act. Captain Ree watched it all with pride. Your Highness, he said one evening as they watched the stars from their ship. The galaxy has never seen humans like this before. You have changed more than just the Empire. You have changed the future. Alara nodded, her gaze on the endless stars. We have changed the story, yes. But we must continue. Humanity has only just begun its journey among the stars. The galaxy is vast, full of challenges, full of wonder, and we will face it, together with courage, intelligence, and laughter. Over time, the new alliance grew. Humans worked alongside alien species, sharing technology, knowledge, and culture. Formerly oppressed worlds found hope in cooperation. The laughter of humans, once seen as audacious and disrespectful, became a symbol of courage, defiance, and hope. The Emperor himself began to see the value in change. He learned that tradition alone could not rule the galaxy, and that even the oldest, most powerful empires must respect the youngest, most fearless species. Princess Alara had shown him that a single individual could shift the course of history. Years later, stories of the laughing Princess of Earth were told across the galaxy. Children on distant planets spoke of her courage. Diplomats recounted her clever solutions. Scholars studied her strategies. And somewhere in the heart of the imperial capital, the Emperor often smiled quietly when he remembered a young human girl who had dared to laugh in his face and change the Empire forever. Alara herself returned to Earth many times, but she always looked to the stars, knowing humanity had found a place among the stars not through fear or war, but through spirit, intelligence, and laughter. She had come to the Empire as a princess. She returned as a legend, a symbol that humans could face the universe with courage, defiance, and joy, and that the galaxy itself was ready to listen. And so, the galaxy entered a new era. Humans were no longer considered insignificant. They were not just visitors among the stars. They were partners, teachers, and symbols of hope. And the sound that echoed through the halls of the Empire, the fearless, confident, joyous laughter of Princess Alara, remained a reminder for generations. The galaxy may be vast, the Empire's old and the challenge is great, but courage, intelligence, and laughter can change everything.